Akhanda-mandala-karam vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hiranyagarbhadarabdham Shesha Vyasadi Madhyamam Swami Shri Ramapadantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, Namaste. Today we are going to talk a little bit on the most important practices of yoga, which is the Yamas and Niyamas, and we'll try to understand the principles from different aspects. When we think of our life, we cannot live like islands. We are all connected. All our actions, they do have some form of impact on ourselves and also where we live, in the societies and around us. In our scriptures, it is said that for purification of action, it's recommended for us to study the Dharma Shastras, the principles of right living. It is extremely important for us to understand and apply those principles in our day-to-day life so that we can live in harmony. Then to discipline our mind, the Yoga Shastras are recommended. So the first step is Vyavahara Shuddhi, purification of our actions and behaviors, disciplining the mind through yoga, then working on our vasanas, the subtle hidden desires, purification of desires, bhakti, the path of surrender, Ishvara Pranidhan, the path of love and devotion helps us, and to remove the ignorance or incomplete knowledge, the path of knowledge is recommended. Unfortunately, these days, with a lot of information available everywhere, almost everything is nowadays available over the internet, and whatever we feel that, okay, I think I need to know this, or I think I'm ready to practice this, somehow we start not knowing from where actually we should start. It is useful and important for us to know where I am, and therefore from where I can begin. Usually looking at this world today, what is happening all around us, and also with all kinds of health issues, the mental stress and pressures and natural calamities, etc., it is important for us to take some time out and reflect the ways of our life. How are we living? So the way I live my life, does it create any form of burden to anyone around me, including the nature? And also, is my life, the way I live my life, is it a burden for myself, the way I live my life? And this is where the principles of Yamas and Niyamas are most appropriate. Yamas, we can say that these are the principles where I adopt such a lifestyle which is, I start to live a life in such a way that I am not a burden to anyone. My way of living is not a burden to anyone, including the nature. Niyamas are the lifestyle, the ways that we adopt a lifestyle where my way of living is not a burden for myself. My habit patterns are not a burden for myself. My lifestyle is not a burden for myself. If we do believe in the principles of the Pancha Mahabhutas, the 5 great elements, which is pervading everything in this world, all creations to different degrees. The element of earth, the element of water, the element of fire, air and ether, space. If we start to establish a good relationship or start to live in sync with nature, with all these principles, that also paves the way to live a life of balance and harmony. What is my relationship with the earth element? What is earth element in my body? And of course the outer manifestation, earth as Mother Earth. So how do I respond to Mother Earth? What is my attitude towards Mother Earth? In our scriptures, in the principles of Sanatana Dharma, most of you would already know that when we get up from the bed in the morning, before we touch our foot on the ground, we pray to the Mother Earth. There is a prayer for forgiveness, that I am keeping my foot on you. We consider that divine. The element of water as an example. So when we take bath, we also invoke the sacred rivers. So we invoke divinity in the form of water also. And likewise, we do our fire offerings and so on and so forth. So in each and every action and interaction, we invoke the divinity, the sacredness in that action. In that way, we remain in sync. And also it helps us not to corrupt, not to pollute these elements. If I value somebody, if I love someone, I do not have these thoughts of corrupting that individual or corrupting that place, corrupting that element, or not living in sync with that. So how do I live my life? I have not created this earth, I have not created this water, I have not created any of these elements. Yet I am receiving the blessings from all this. I am able to live on this earth that I have not created. So what is my attitude towards earth? How do I live? What is my attitude towards all the waters I have not created? Yet the same water is maintaining my life. I drink water, and we use water in many ways. The fire, the sun, let's say, in the form of light, heat. Can we imagine our life without all these? Now how do I live with them? Again, in our philosophy, we used to offer water to the sun, morning sun. Why do we do that? Even in the asanas, let's say the sun salutation, Surya Namaskar. Do we just do the 12 postures or set of asanas of sun salutation? Or do we really go in and see what is the meaning of saluting the sun? Where am I saluting the sun? Where in me is the sun, the fire element, and outside, of course. So am I really in sync while I'm doing this posture, this asana? Or I'm just doing it as part of some postures that I need to do. And then we have competitions over who can do how many rounds of sun salutation. So where we have brought yogasanas to, in the form of to competition, if we do really understand the philosophy of yoga, there is no competition. I cannot compete with someone else who is also practicing yoga. There is no competition in yoga. It's all union. Yet we encourage that also in different ways. So the idea is, do we really understand how this system is built upon, how it is related to the universe, and how do I respond to that, how do I interact with that? So coming back to the Yamas. There are 5 Yamas: Ahimsa, non-violence; Satya, non-lying; Asteya, non-stealing; Brahmacharya, leading a life which in where we regulate our senses. Of course, there are many more aspects of Brahmacharya. Then we have Aparigraha, non-accumulation, leading a selfless life. So what does this mean? If I don't behave properly, if I behave in a non-violent way, in a loving way, who gets benefited? The individual that I'm talking to, or the individual that I'm related to, as well as my own heart and mind. So I'm not allowing my antakarana, the mind and heart, to be polluted with, let's say, anger, violence as an example. So I choose to keep my mind in peace, not in pieces. Satya, I'm choosing not to lie. And if there is a situation that arises where I really don't know what to do, it's better to be in silence. And of course, there is much more expansion to all of these principles. There are ways, and there are so many other aspects, so many other ways. How do we respond to the situations? But in short, let me stay true to myself. Let me also stay true to others, so that I don't need to hide anything from anyone. And thereby not leading a life of a little bit of pressure within also. A life of full of integrity, honesty, yet with the principle of non-violence, with the principle of love, so loving communications. Asteya, non-stealing. These days, what can we talk about? Non-stealing simply means that, okay, let me not steal people's copyrights. These days it's rampant over social media that I write a sentence, or I write a phrase from a book or a paragraph, and I just don't write or give credit to who wrote this or who said this, as an example. And an important principle that we can adopt is not to steal people's time. These days, time is valuable, so we should also remain very careful that not to engage in conversations where time is killed. We are stealing somebody else's time. Also, we are stealing our own time. That time could have been utilized for something creative, something nice, but we choose to steal that time in the form of, let's say, gossips or unnecessary communications. And of course, there are many more aspects to non-stealing. So if I'm not stealing, what is happening? I'm being sensitive to others' time, I'm being sensitive towards others' needs, etc., etc. So what will happen if I develop this attitude of non-stealing? I will not exploit others, including nature. We are stealing so many stuffs from the nature. Brahmacharya, leading a life, remaining in Brahman as an example, meaning always remembering the higher principle. And a regulation, we have the way we function through our senses, they are regulated. Then we have aparigraha, non-accumulation. If we look back at our life, and if we go back to our home and see how many things we have accumulated in life, are they really necessary? What is my need? Maybe I need 2 pairs of shoes or 4 pairs of shoes, but if I look at my wardrobe or my house, my clothes, how many things that we have gathered, and why do we gather those kind of things? Where is that insecurity in me that push me to keep on gathering things? So if I keep on accumulating and storing things, what does it lead me to? Also, the external accumulation is a reflection of internal accumulation of thoughts. So the more and more stuff that I have gathered outside, it simply means that my mind is also full of all sort of thoughts. It's a representation. Sometimes, I guess, and I think many of us have had this experience that once we have started cleaning the house, as an example, we feel so nice, we feel a little less burden. We have festivals like Diwali, the festival of light, where we clean our house, keep giving so many stuff that's probably is not any use to us, but somebody can use it. The idea of recycling, so on and so forth. We feel less heavier. So just by cleaning the house or emptying the house from stuffs, if we feel so clean, what will happen when we clean our mind? Get rid of all these unnecessary thoughts that is not healthy for us. So there are different ways and means which we can adopt in our life, thereby living a life of harmony, of balance. Then there are Niyamas. There are 5 Niyamas, as you already know. Saucha, which is purity, sacredness, cleanliness, of course, but it goes more towards purity. Santosha, contentment. Tapas, self-discipline. Swadhyaya, swa-adhyaya, studying of the greater scriptures, doing practice of japa, etc., etc. Listening to discourses of great masters. Then Ishvara Pranidhan, surrendering to the highest. Saucha, purity. How can I lead a life of purity? Purity in my thoughts, purity in my actions, and purity around me. As an example, we may keep talking about yoga, but if we keep throwing garbage everywhere, if we keep polluting this earth, polluting our rivers, polluting our ocean, I may practice few postures, I may do some pranayama exercises, I may sit for meditation, yet if my attitude towards living, it is not in line with the principles of the philosophy that leads everybody towards harmony, as an example, then my practice also remains at a very gross level. It has, my actions do not reflect my knowledge. So how can I bring in purity in my life, in all our day-to-day life? Taking bath, cleaning ourselves, wearing clothes that are clean, as an example, keeping our environment clean, helping these kind of causes. Saucha. And slowly from external going more towards internal. How can I keep my internal systems clean? Then slowly leading to my mind, etc., etc. Santosha simply means living a life at zero complaint level. I'm content. What kind of person who is content? A person who has no complaints. He is content no matter what happens. So it's also an attitude. Yes, if there is something that I need to fix, there is something that I really need to work on with all practical reasons, then I do. But yet, Santosha simply means I don't allow my mind to lose its balance, to lose the peace, the inherent peace that I have. And we do, including myself. We do sometimes lose that peace and balance, and hence the teachings. Hence the reminder of practicing again and again all these principles. And Santosha also means, do I value my peace of mind? What value I have given to my peace of mind, so that if a situation which is happening outside, it could be anything, that robs me off from my peace of mind, that takes away my peace of mind, perhaps simply means, perhaps I don't value my peace of mind so much, but I value that incident or that person or that situation, that I allow my peace of mind to be lost. So contentment simply means valuing our own peace of mind, or a mind that is joyful, and not compromising that with any event that happens outside. Yes, people think it's when we say it's easier said than done, but that's what it is. If I keep my mind peaceful, if everybody, each and every one of us keeps our mind peaceful, the whole world will be in peace. So it's all about working on ourselves. The path of spirituality, the spiritual practices, is to work on ourselves. Santosha, tapas, leading a life of self-discipline. Or rather, we can also expand it to say discovery of independence from things and beings. So right now, I can choose to see, okay, what are the things and beings that I'm heavily dependent upon? Can I discover or reclaim my independence from those? As an example, let's say mobile phone these days. Spending so much of time over internet or anything else, games as an example, which really takes away a lot of energy from us. It pulls us out from ourselves and we are engaged in something which is purely external in a way. Sometimes, okay, half an hour, 1 hour as an example, finding there also a balance. So, do I find myself heavily dependent on this device? If yes, then how can I find that? How can I reclaim my independence from the device? Food as an example, fasting. Why do we fast? The purpose of fasting is to discovery of independence from food, from a, let's say, particular type of food. So on and so forth. Silence as an example. What is it? Discovery of independence from speech. So it's also a form of tapas. It's not so much on austerities, but working on ourselves. Discovery of independence. Swadhyaya, extremely important. Swa means myself. Adhyayan means studying of the self. How do we study the self? Through our scriptures, through the teachings of great masters of all religion. And constantly coming back to myself, a self-exploration, self-assessment. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Okay, and how am I progressing with this form of practice as an example? So when we become self-oriented, not self-centered, I'm self-oriented, and I'm constantly evaluating myself to see and discovering new things, of course. So I'm willing to work on myself. How can I work on myself if I don't know much about myself? So in our tradition, Swamiji talks about body, breath, mind as an example. So I understand my body, the physical body with its limitations and etc. I start to observe my breath, I start to work on my breath, I start to understand my breathing process, the breath rhythms, how it's connected as an example to the mind and emotions. And mind, of course, body, breath and mind, understanding the mind. What are my thought patterns? What are my overwhelming emotions? Which direction my mind keeps going towards? And the practice of meditation as an example, when we sit quietly, start to observe all this, stilling the body, relaxing the body, stilling and relaxing the breath, and so that the breath finds its natural rhythm, and then accessing the mind, because then we are left with ourselves. And to start to explore, okay, what is the content of my mind? So we come face to face with ourselves. And then from there the journey begins. Self-assessment, self-exploration, and remaining true to ourselves. Okay, I have this weakness. How can I work on this weakness? And all the scriptures, all great religions, all great masters, prophets, anything that helps us to connect ourselves with ourselves, practice of self-study. Japa, it's connecting us with the divine, as an example. Ishvara Pranidhan. We all know as we began, this world we have not created. Yet we are living, we are taking the benefit of being here, as an example, receiving these blessings through nature as an example. And even though we know that, okay, today I'm here, tomorrow I may not be here, even if intellectually I do understand that there is something which is higher than me. It could be anything. I may believe in a form, I may not believe in a form, but really if I go deep within, I know that there is something beyond me, as an example. So to establish that connection, to keep on remembering that, okay, there is something higher than what it seems to be, and to keep myself aligned with that, could be Ishvara Pranidhan, could be looked at in the form of Ishvara Pranidhan, surrendering. To surrender, and it is a great quality. Surrender all my actions as an example, my emotions, my weaknesses, etc. And also the good qualities. If I found myself, okay, I have this good quality, that too is surrendered because there is something higher, as an example. All this, there is so much, and of course the Yoga Sutra, you can read and see and go into much more greater depth. There is so much, we just try to squeeze it in a short period of time. It's not that this is the only way of an interpretation. There could be many, many more other ways of interpretation, but we are trying to put it in a more and more practical way that is useful in our lives. So, all right, now I have this information. I have the information on Yamas, I have the information on Niyamas, a little bit information on these aspects. What can I do with this? How can I put these principles in my life, in my action? Yamas, as we understood, are the principles in which, through which we live such a life. On that foundation, we live such a life that we are not a burden. We try not to become a burden on anyone in thought, form, and action. So purification of actions and behaviors, as an example, being sensitive to others' needs, being considerate, etc., etc., etc. And Niyamas, of course, taking care of ourselves, working on our mind, so that my habit patterns, the form of dependency, we spoke about values. Do I really value my peace of mind? Do I really value to connect to myself? Do I really want to spend some time to understand myself and work on those principles? And of course, surrender to the Master, to the Guru, to God, to whomsoever that we believe in. And our actions are filled with a sense of purity or sacredness. So when we try to put those principles in practice, it's almost the entire Dharma Shastra which is covered in these two Yamas and Niyamas. What will happen? We become self-oriented, and also all these qualities that we talk about, whether it is compassion, whether it is love, it will be the natural outcome of that. We may not know that even sometimes, that this is happening. This will all come out from us naturally when we are sensitive to all of this. So how do I purify my actions? As an example, let's say my karma indriyas, my hands, my legs, my tongue as an example. So where do they go? My legs, of course I move through my legs. My legs go everywhere in the world. Do they also go to an ashram? Do they also go to a temple, a mosque, or a place of worship? Do they also go to help somebody? Do they also go to stand where somebody's, when maybe perhaps some help is necessary, as an example? So where does this feet, my legs go? Hands. Hands are, this is the major organ of action through which I do a lot of activities. I earn money. I work using my hands. I farm on computers, etc., etc. So they are engaged in many, many activities. Are they also engaged in helping somebody? Are they also engaged in doing some form of japa, as an example? Are they also engaged in worshipping the deities, worshipping the gurus or the masters or God or people, anything? How can I purify this? My hands. Some actions, I'm doing so many actions. Is this also part of my action, as an example, through my hands? I can support somebody, I can also hug somebody, I can do pranams to somebody. What are these activities? Or I'm always engaged in doing something only for myself. Tongue, it's two in one. It's also a sense organ, also the organ of action, taste and speech. Now, throughout the day, when we reflect, we talk so many things. We talk about so many things. We discuss so many things in the world, in our own lives. Do we also engage the tongue in taking the name of the Lord, as an example? Do we also engage our tongue in soothing in someone's mind, helping someone, calming someone, supporting someone through our speech? Doing japa, reading or stotras, as an example. Again, if we come back to the philosophy We have so many stotras, Vishnu Sahasranam as an example, Lalita Sahasranam, there were so many mantras. In almost every tradition we have great scriptures. When we chant this, when we read this, our tongue is engaged in something, some activities, which is much, much more higher than the mundane activities, than always discussing about the world or gossiping about someone. So let me start purifying through these organs of actions, purifying my activities, my actions. What do I eat and all of that. In the Bhagavad Gita, of course, it talks about, the 6th chapter talks about the yuktahara viharasya. So what is it? What do I eat? How do I eat, etc.? What is my day-to-day activities? Things like that. So this helps us coming back to ourselves and also engaging these organs to do something higher or something useful, not only for ourselves but also for people around us. As we started, we cannot live a life of being an island, that I'm only myself and I'm not connected to anybody, I don't consider anything about anyone. So how does that starts to happen? Where more and more I grow in sensitivity through these practices, the more and more naturally I'm inclined towards those kind of activities. So at least sometimes we may feel overwhelmed. Oh my God, there's so many things for me to do. So we can choose, sit back, choose. So we have received some information, then let us spend some time to interact with this information. Shravanam, mananam, as we know. Reflecting, okay, I've heard this, or I know this, to whatever degree that I can bring that in my action, let me commit myself to do that. Slowly, slowly we'll see that it will have a snowball effect. And slowly, slowly we will find ourselves getting engaged in these kind of activities. So the idea is, once we start, because this is where the gross body we have the highest or strongest identification with, it's easier to work with it. It's a little difficult to work, starting to work from our mind. It's easier to, okay, I see that I'm doing this, I see that my hands are engaged in this, I see that my tongue is engaged in this. So how can I start to purify this? So little bit of practice starting from here. Then, in alignment with that, my relationship to earth. Earth gives us food. It gives us a place to stay, as an example. There is so much. So let us spend some time to contemplate upon the earth element. What's my connection with it? In my physical body, all this, the muscles, the bones, it all represents earth element. So what's my relationship with this? Okay, I may practice to gain flexibility or strength in my physical body, yet if I'm polluting the earth, I'm not living in sync. It may have some health benefits, but perhaps it will not take us to the depth of the real spiritual practices, the real wellness, so to say, the holistic approach. So do I plant trees, as an example? Am I sensitive, not polluting the earth, not throwing out garbage, etc., and not taking out resources from earth, not polluting not only not polluting, also not extracting. Water element. Water is an element which binds two things together. So what's my approach towards the water element? Do I waste water? If we look at our oceans, they are also now polluted with all kinds of plastic and etc., etc. So we may keep on talking about these higher philosophies and practice only asanas and pranayamas, but if we don't live that philosophy, then it is of no use. If I keep on wasting water, what can happen? Because water is an element that binds two things together, it's an element of bonding. So some things, some kind of effect in my relationships, it will reflect. Relationship is also binding. Two people are coming together. So some sort of issues perhaps will also manifest in our lives. So not polluting water. Also with this, now it's summer season, so the heat waves are there, etc., etc. Can we offer some water to people? Things like that. And we have so many. It's called Jala Chhatra in Hindi. So you have people with the earthen pots and they offer something cooling to the people or the laborers, the construction workers, etc., etc., in whichever way we can do it. In the olden days, people were building wells, they're digging wells in rivers, etc., so on and so forth. These days, we even, if there is a pond, we just fill it with soil and start to build apartments. So not only we are disturbing the earth element, we are also disturbing the water element. Fire. The sun is burning itself to give us light. What is our attitude towards sun, as an example? In our culture, as we discussed earlier, we were offering some water to sun, and we can just see it as a sense of gratitude. Thank you, O sun, O Lord Sun, for giving us the light. That light also represents the light of wisdom. Fire is also an element that defies gravity. So if we are stuck in life, in no matter where, if we have a connection with our fire, with the fire element, we can go beyond that. We can go away, or we can be pushed away from those situations. So what do we do with fire? You do your sun salutation as an example. We also do some fire offerings. So we purify, and we put the ghee, clarified butter, with also some herbs as an example to fire. And there are many, many ways. As an example, let's say electricity. Do I waste electricity? Do I steal electricity? And so on and so forth. So these are all for your own contemplations. We'll not go into much depth in this short session as an example. So whatever fire represents. Another example, in fire, what do I burn? Do I burn polythene as an example? So I'm giving whatever that we give to the fire, it's offering. So do I add all these filthy things to fire? That also, it pollutes the air as an example. Also as a gesture, as an attitude, it's not great that I'm offering something not nice to fire. Similarly to my digestive fire. The fire element in me, the digestive fire, what am I offering? What kind of food I'm offering to the digestive fire? That also matters. Then the wind, the air element. Again, we know. As we know, Delhi, we are here in India, Delhi is one of the most polluted cities. What has happened? What did we do to our cities, our places? And what can we do? Again, the fire offering that we used to do, it helps purification of the air. The stale air, as an example, we burn incense sticks without chemicals, of course, as much as possible. So it's called dhoop, agarbatti as an example, incense sticks, that purifies the air. Also the fire offerings purifies the air. And then how I am not contributing in whichever practical way, I am not contributing towards air pollution. I am not a contributing factor to create disharmony in this nature. So wind is gati, is the force that takes us from one place to another place, as an example. So if I do really want to progress in my spiritual life, also in my material life, if I'm polluting the air, that is perhaps we can see a connection. And all these contemplations, you can do it for yourself. Take in one element, see how this element is represented, and contemplate, spend some time, find out how we can live in harmony with that element. Then the space. The tanmatra for space is sound. How have I filled the space in my house, as an example? There is, for everything to exist, space is necessary. So what have I filled? With what have I filled the space? In my house, in my mind, as an example, and as the tanmatra of sound pollution, And what kind of speech? Whatever I'm saying to you right now, it is going where? It is going into the space. So I become a little bit of aware, a little bit of awareness. I bring in my speech. What do I say? Do I use curse words as an example? Do I use words which is not nice, let's say? Where does this sound go? In the space. So a little bit of more sensitivity towards that, and contemplation on space as it is. And we don't need to talk about the space that is being polluted with all these, we call them space debris as an example. So what really progress means to us and at what cost? And how that is, how our own, my lifestyle, the way I choose to live the lifestyle, how that has an impact to the overall. To say it in the technical terms in the philosophy, how the universal mind, the individual mind, vyashti mana or vyashti chitta, is contributing to the samashti chitta, the universal mind field. So how my action impacts things around me, how my mind field impacts the universal mind as an example. What kind of space that I'm filling my house with? Do I fill with garbage as an example? Or things that are not necessary? What is it? And the same thing for this thought to exist in the mind. Where does the thought exist? In the space, in the mind. Where the space exists? In the mind. So reflecting on those thoughts and trying to purify, trying to cleanse our mind. And all the practices are again there in the Yoga Sutras. Chitta prasadana, etc., etc. How do we achieve that? So how am I related to this great 5 elements, and how my actions, behaviors affect them, the great elements, the nature, the individuals that I'm living with, and also affect me, my mind, my lifestyle. How does it work? So we would like to invite all of you to spend some time in contemplation, if you choose to, and see what is that we can bring into our action. The knowledge or the information, if it stays here, it becomes a burden. And naturally, there are sometimes people say, I'm practicing this, but it's not happening. We all face this. And this is where we need a guidance of a master. And of course, we just need to keep at it. Not get disheartened by, okay, it's not happening. Everything takes time, and it's extremely, if we have practiced to work on our habit patterns, we know whatever time, 25 years, 30 years, 40 years that we have given to form this habit, it cannot be just taken away in a day or two. It also takes some time. We should also have these principles of, let's say, the non-violence, in a way of not condemning ourselves, not being too self-critical, as long as I'm putting this into practice. So from Swami Ram Sadhagram, from Rishikesh, it's an invitation to all of you to spend some time in reflection and contemplation, to find that connection that somehow we have lost with ourselves. That connection, we call it coming back home, coming back to ourselves, and seeing how our actions impacts others, how my action impacts myself, and thereby whatever that I can do, whatever little thing I can do towards maintaining or supporting this harmony in nature, in our lives, in my life, that would be an excellent beginning. Then the other 6 limbs, as an example, let's say the asanas, pranayamas, etc., will happen naturally and automatically. So when we have done this yamas and niyamas, or we continues to do it, when we sit in an asana, as an example, the body probably is sitting here, but the mind also is sitting here. It's not sitting in money, it's not sitting in relationships, it's not sitting in conflicts. The mind also sits here. The more and more we purify our mind and actions, the more and more we keep coming back to ourselves. So it's an invitation for all of you to come back to yourselves, to come back home. And from there, let's function with this solid foundation that if we choose to do so. With this, I would like to thank all of you, and also with a short meditative contemplative practice, we will close this session. So we invite you to sit in silence, closing your eyes softly, aligning your head, neck and trunk in a straight line. So the Merudanda is like the pillar of light. The spinal cord as the pillar of light and life. Maintaining its natural curvature. Inviting the mind to relax the whole body from the top of the head to the tip of the toes. Gently shifting the mind's awareness to the free flowing breath in the nostrils. Allowing the breath to flow freely, naturally, without any efforts. Letting the breath feel loved within. As the ice cube melts into water, the mind has dissolved into pure consciousness. From this depth of stillness and silence, Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Thank you.